This episode of the Nerd Corporation podcast may contain spoilers and explicit language. Listener discretion is advised. Welcome to the Nerd Corporation.
Oh, hello everyone.
Hi.
What up, everybody? It's Thursday, and you know what that means.
I am not prepared.
I don't have anything
I'm new here. So
R. Kelly's fighting for his life out there,
me.
man.
They're
They're all trying to kill R. Kelly.
Hello, everybody.
Oh, yeah, and there's this
Good,
guy.
and you?
Good you.
Well, anyway, besides that train wreck, no, it's podcast day. Look, always forget. Every time. Welcome to season 3.
I thought this was an AA meeting.
Well, it still is.
Kind of is.
Welcome to season 3, episode 11, all about Logan. Wolverine, that is.
Not where we live.
Yeah.
It's not interesting enough to make a podcast episode.
Really.
We've got our very own Weird Sense here today. Teacher, rapper, poet.
Local Wolverine enthusiast.
Local,
and
yes.
connoisseur.
Yeah,
I dabble, gentlemen.
Where it says you're a you've been all about Wolverine ever since you were a kid.
Oh, ever since I was a little kid, yeah. One of my first costumes, I was lucky enough my mom was a costumer, so I always had like bomb Halloween costumes.
Hell yeah.
And one of them, I had the full yellow and blue Wolverine X-Men outfit. It was one of the first memories I have of going out Halloween. So yeah, always been a big fan.
That's rad.
Yeah, one of the first cartoons I saw was an old school X-Men. One of the ones you get from the library that you check out that I don't think I've ever seen again.
It was probably that 180s one with Australian Wolverine.
Oh my God,
That's the one. I think the first one I saw.
It's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, that was the first X-Men in like 1984.
You guys remember me back when we were doing like the X-Men episode
Mhm.
where I brought up like that, I don't know if this is like some Mandela effect, but that book that I swear to God that I read about like an alternate Wolverine where he's like born with his powers and he starts to discover them.
We were talking about this last night, and you were saying that like it was one where he was in high school.
Yeah.
But that's weird because
it's like an alternate. So like, because I remember him describing like he was running in like gym class and he fell and like broke his nose and he noticed his nose like just heal back.
He wasn't born in a time period where there would have been gym class. Like he was. It was the Civil War.
This was like a different.
It was just like a different universe or something like that. Okay.
Different timeline.
Okay. Well, I mean, there's always been like billions of timelines. I've never heard of that before. Like, I have no idea.
I can't. Honest to God, can't remember.
I think you had a fever dream, and just
So
this whole
vivid,
thing
so
happened in your
vivid.
head.
Right?
So vivid.
Are
you real?
Are you real?
Real enough to feel that.
Hey.
What's going on, guys?
None of your business.
You're doing some nerd news.
Just look away.
Mhm.
We're gonna make some weird animal noises.
Me too.
Well, I'm glad to have you here.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm
You
glad to
can
be
shed
here.
some light on this shit because I have absolutely no fucking idea about anything.
Oh, I know. So what? In fact, I was
We
reading
did that
over.
one episode, and that was quite enlightening in itself. But I've always thought that Wolverine was a super compelling character because he seems damaged in a lot of ways.
Well, that's the interesting thing is like I was talking to my fiance and she was like, well, "What are you gonna talk about?" And like I ended up like staying up for like 2 hours just
Yeah.
talking at her.
Yeah.
I think at one point she's kind of her eyes glazed over. She's like, "I made a mistake even
Yeah.
bringing this
What
up."
have I done?
But yeah, he's
Your wife
this
this conversation really well with my girlfriend.
yeah.
Because I do the same fucking shit.
She's just kind of like, "Oh, this was a mistake."
Yeah, we got done watching that Michael
Fucking
Jackson
made a
documentary,
great
and I was like going into it, and I'm like,
immediately
I looked at my watch, and I was like, holy shit, I've been talking for like 30 minutes. I had no idea.
Yeah, so this is probably going to be one of your podcasts that probably has tons of information that I want to go on rants about, so you probably have to rein me in a couple times, but that's fine. That's fine. We got a bunch of information to
We got
spit
it all.
out of people.
We got it all. What's up with the nerd news? Do we have any nerd news?
Did you guys see Captain Marvel?
I did.
I liked it.
So how was it?
I liked it.
A lot of people are talking shit.
I liked it a lot.
But a lot of people were talking shit before they even had access to
That's
the movie.
that's
Like
what
they
I saw
went
about
in
it.
wanting it to suck,
Yeah.
and so they saw what they wanted to see.
Well, you see a lot of guys on there.
Well, of course.
Mostly
A lot
men.
of the insult
Yeah.
Yeah,
group
that-
of people,
yeah.
if you're familiar with the term. Just a lot of the people that the women. What? What do you mean?
They can't do things.
So was there this
Row,
type
row,
of like
Row.
this type of issue, that men primarily had? Did they have this with Wonder Woman as well?
Yeah, they started to, but it wasn't to the level that they did on Rotten Tomatoes with this one.
Okay.
I think they didn't go the same route.
Like I think it kind of ramped up because you had Wonder Woman, and then you had Black Panther, and now you've got
When
this,
does it end?
and they're just like fuck.
I
Like-
liked Captain Marvel better than Wonder Woman.
I did too. I mean, granted, Wonder Woman is one of the better DC films.
It's still a DC versus
But it is-
Marvel.
I mean,
It's-
let's look at the
yeah.
fucking scoreboard here, guys. Like, it's not.
Yeah.
They're,
I
Marvel's
mean, you
killing
can
it.
only have so many moms named Martha.
Yeah. Well, what
Martha!
are you gonna do? Like
Why did you say that name?
as a villain, all you'd have to do is just go. My mom's Martha too. Are we cool?
Can we
Like-
roll end credits?
Yeah.
Luckily, Wolverine's mom is not.
God, what a stupid fucking movie, man.
Laziest fucking
I was
resolution. ever.
going through the HBO movies and I saw that they have one X-Men movie on there and it's X2. Do you have any thoughts about X2? I've heard that those original three are horrendously bad.
They're god awful.
The very first
The
one was
first one
great.
was alright.
Yeah.
The first one was cool.
Second one was okay, and the third one was just ass.
And again, what saves all of them, in my opinion, is Wolverine.
It's true.
And
We
he's
also-
the same in every universe.
Yeah.
It's the
Yeah.
same actor.
We also got a trailer for that Dark Phoenix, didn't we? Or
Yeah.
was that just a poster of it?
No, we got a trailer for Dark
We got-
Phoenix.
we got a
I'm
trailer.
not.
I do not care.
I don't.
You don't like having Sansa Stark as Dark Phoenix?
I don't care about Sansa Stark being Dark Phoenix. I
She's
just
not-
don't care about that movie.
She doesn't look angry.
No.
She doesn't have the cape. She plays a character in Game of Thrones that specifically does not look angry or has to outwardly look like she's okay
Yeah.
with all the terrible things happening to her. That's not Phoenix.
Yeah.
Like I don't like the actress and die so we can get the X-Men in the right universe.
Yeah.
Also,
Right?
die.
Die. Get
No,
out
but
of
real
there.
shit. Get out of there.
You got Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
You want to know what happens to Captain Marvel in the comic books? It's Rogue.
Don't
That's
spoil
how Rogue gets her
Don't spoil it.
powers.
I'm just kidding.
This Rogue ends up
Yeah.
basically murdering her
Rogue saps.
because her mom's like, yeah, do it.
Fun fact
Yeah,
about
Mystique.
Captain.
Like she saps her to the point that what the powers that she pulls from her end up being permanent.
Yeah.
No shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
And she has her rattling around in her head
Good
from
for
that
her.
point forward.
Yeah.
Fun fact about Captain Marvel: she was the first. She was the one that coined the Avengers, the one that gave the Avengers their name.
No shit.
Mm-hmm.
Which they never mind.
I mean,
Spoilers here.
the one thing that I
Way
noticed.
to put those movies in order then. Because
Right,
we've had
exactly.
4 Avengers movies, then she comes and is like, hey,
What's
those
up,
are the
guys?
Avengers, right?
The one
I
thing
grew
that
up
I
with
noticed about Captain Marvel is the fact that CGI has gotten so advanced that we can literally make older people look younger with Samuel L. Jackson.
Dude, like
That
Coulson
shit
looked awesome.
it's eerie. It's really fucking.
I
scary.
remember-
Coulson's all
well-
kind of buff and shit.
Do you remember seeing that for Captain America and Ant-Man?
Yeah.
When they they
Yeah.
time traveled Michael Douglas back in time, and he was like,
Well,
"Hey, I'm hip and young."
I think the one that really started all that was
I don't think Michael Douglas was
the Iron
ever
Man one.
hip and young.
Well, they
But,
took
yeah.
Robert Downey Jr. and they did that in one of his and made him look super young. I think maybe it was Civil War.
Yeah,
But that was the one that I remember being like, wow.
the one where he flashes back to his
When
dad.
he flashes back to
Yeah.
him as a teenager,
Yeah.
and then you're just like,
It was
ew.
disturbing though when they did it with Chris Evans though, when he was scrawny.
Yeah,
I was
dude,
like-
yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
that head is way too big for that body.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think what's interesting too about bringing up that whole Captain America being scrawny and that flashback stuff. That seems to be a theme with a lot of superheroes, including Wolverine. When we
Yeah.
go through the history, that's one of the things is
That was one of
He
the
was
cooler.
sickly.
That was one of the cooler things I liked about Origin. That movie
Yeah.
Origin was them two going through time. pretty much.
showing and going through time. Well, and it's nice, but
the only.
if
thing
it was in the right universe,
Yeah.
Now, I mean, you would see so many other tie-ins. I mean,
Yeah.
you would see Captain America and him fighting.
Yeah,
in
yeah.
wars
And
together.
you'd see him
You'd
with
see-
Silver Samurai. And
Yeah,
shit like that.
you would see all of that stuff instead of. I mean, they touched on it a little bit, but it wasn't fleshed out enough.
Yeah. Oh no.
But Logan, Jesus.
Oh god, Logan was the best thing.
I mean, talk about like going from a bunch of crappy movies that he saves because he's good at the character to a movie that's just seriously a standalone, amazing film.
Yeah.
That gets me all the time, though.
No, that movie's great.
Yeah, I ball my eyes out every.
I'm not even an X-Men fan. I love that movie a lot.
Well, and what's it? Patrick Stewart reminds me so much of my grandpa before he passed away.
Oh really?
Like, exactly. Mindset, everything
Just this
in
fucking
that. So
paranoid curmudgeon.
well, yeah, and he kind of he's like that frail. He looks like my grandpa was right before he died in that like frail state.
Mhm.
And the fact that he, my grandpa had dementia and stuff before he went, and was in World War II and liberated Dachau. So like all of those things that tie together, and seeing that his relationship with him, and then the daughter factor in there as well. I have a daughter, by the way, for anybody that doesn't know,
Mhm.
but tied into there as well. At the end, I'm just like, his life was so hard.
The only piece of news I have was that there was a first look at a Superman Year One by Frank Miller, and it's going onto the DC Black label, which is like their mature label line. So we might get an adult Superman that isn't such a smarmy
That
little
punches
bitch.
people. That actually punches.
Yeah, that
people.
actually punches people.
That's all I ever want to see.
That's all. Yeah, that's all you ever want,
Girl going through how many movies?
right?
Just like
All the cartoons even are like,
well, yeah, the animation will punch something.
Yeah.
Just punch a thing. That's what I want to see.
God help the Superman fans out there, because they know deep down in their heart they will never, ever, ever get a compelling Superman ever.
so that's
Well-
that's what I'm hoping Superman Year One will be.
In terms of nerd news, we're throwing random stuff out there. That whole Brightburn new
Yes,
trailer that
Yes,
came out. It's
yeah,
about
we
the
got
evil Superman thing. If
Oh,
you
is
guys have
that
heard of that.
that's
It's
Elizabeth
not
Banks.
J.J. Abrams. It's who the hell is it? It's a prolific director.
Yeah, and it's James Gunn. No,
Oh, that might be.
might be.
I know he's doing stuff for DC now.
Well, but it's not. It's not technically DC.
Oh.
It's
Right,
it's
you-
not
you said it's
actually
called
Superman,
Brightburn?
Yeah,
but it
Brightburn.
is, and it's sort of like, hey, what if this kid crash landed?
James
as an alien
Gunn, you
kid,
were right.
It is James.
and
is
he
James
just
Gunn.
ends up being like, well, I'm more powerful than everybody. I'm just
So
gonna murder.
it
everybody.
is it's an actual Superman movie.
Trailer asks what is Superman. No, I don't know. I don't think so.
Yeah, the
Everyone's
symbol
saying.
that he writes and everything is, and he's more of an evil thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not the same like symbol. So
Is it
it's
supposed to be like a horror movie?
yeah. So it's supposed to be a horror
Sign
movie.
me the fuck up.
I saw it and I was like, yes.
Oh, you have to sign up to see it? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I better get on that.
Sign me up too.
But so there's that, and then there's also that we were talking about the Savage Avengers. Is coming out as
The
well.
Savage Avengers.
It's
It will be
like-
coming out in the books too, and that's going to be dope as fuck.
Mhm. We'll have Wolverine as well.
Yeah, we'll have Wolverine. We'll have Conan the Barbarian.
Conan the Barbarian, Wolverine, Punisher, and I believe Elektra.
Yeah.
There's
Wow.
more I can't.
Yeah, they're like really dark Avengers.
Uh huh.
It's good. I'm definitely going to look into those books.
Interesting.
But on to the man of the hour. Wolverine is a fictional character appearing in American comic books published by Marvel Comics, mostly in association with the X-Men. He is a mutant who possesses animal keen senses, enhanced physical capabilities, powerful regenerative ability known as a healing factor, and 3 retractable claws in each hand. Wolverine has been depicted variously as a member of the X-Men, Alpha Flight, and Avengers.
I heard enhance, and all I could think of was
Enhance.
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 Print the goddamn thing! The character appeared in the last panel of The Incredible Hulk number 180 before having a larger role in 181, cover dated November 1974. He was created by Marvel editor-in-chief Roy Thomas, writer Len Wein,
Ween's funnier.
Ween
Ween
is
is
funny.
funny.
Yeah.
and Marvel art director John Romita Sr. Romita designed the character, although it was first drawn for publication by Herb Trimp. There you go, Derek.
Enunciate really clearly on that.
There you go.
Herb Trimp.
Like-
Just
it's
for
like
you,
a-
baby.
It's like Diego on the Umbrella Academy. Just say it out loud, really slow.
Wolverine then joined a revamped version of the superhero team, the X-Men, where eventually writer Chris Claremont and writer John Byrne would play significant roles in the character's development. Artist Frank Miller collaborated with Claremont and helped revise the character for a 4-part eponymous limited series from September to December 1982, which debuted Wolverine's catchphrase, "I'm the best there is at what I do, but what I do isn't very nice."
Derek, do you still have that art variant that you got at Comic-Con of the death of Wolverine?
I'm sure I do.
I remember.
I just don't know where.
I remember saw you get that, and I had spent all of my money at that point, and I was like, God damn it, I want one too so bad. But
Wolverine is typical of many tough anti-heroes that emerged in American popular culture after the Vietnam War. His willingness to use deadly force and his brooding nature became standard characteristics for comic book anti-heroes by the end of the 1980s. As a result, the character became a fan favorite of the increasingly popular X-Men franchise and has been featured in his own solo comic book series since 1988. He has appeared in most X-Men adaptations, including animated television series, video games, and the live-action 20th Century Fox X-Men film series, in which he is portrayed by Hugh Jackman in 9 of the 10 films.
not to be confused with a huge Yakman.
No.
That's true.
Who may be the next one? We don't know.
Yeah.
So 9 of the 10. So which one wasn't he in?
He's not in Dark Phoenix. Are they counting that one?
I don't know.
I don't know, because he's been Wolverine for the whole time.
So he has been. So
Which it makes me assume that they're including the new Dark
coming.
Phoenix movie that's coming.
Maybe
out, 'cause he's
they're
not gonna be in
maybe
that one.
maybe
Because he wasn't in the other 2 first class movies either.
Yeah, he was.
He
He
was.
shows up in First Class. Yeah.
Oh yeah, he does. He does
Yeah,
show up.
he gets recruited by
Well, they
Well,
try.
they
Well,
put
they
him
try to
in
recruit
the
him.
recruit one that has the famous
No, go
"fuck you"
fuck
scene,
yourself,
go
yeah.
fuck yourself scene,
yeah.
and then there's one where they free him.
Oh,
where-
that's right. That's right.
Where he ends up.
So yeah, maybe Dark Phoenix.
Yeah. So I think Dark Phoenix is the one that he's not going to be in.
Gotcha.
Okay, so despite suggestions that co-creator Len Wein originally intended for Logan to be a mutated Wolverine cub, evolved to humanoid form by an already established Marvel geneticist, the High Evolutionary, Wein denies this. Quote, "While I readily admit that my original idea was for Wolvie's claws to extend from the backs of his gloves, I absolutely did not ever intend to make Logan a mutated Wolverine. I write stories about human beings, not evolved animals, with apologies for any story I may have written that involved the High Evolutionary. The mutated Wolverine thing came about long after I was no longer involved with the book. I'm not certain if the idea was first suggested by Chris Claremont, the late, much-missed Dave Cockrum, or John Byrne when he came aboard as artist, but it most certainly did not start with me," end quote.
Cockerum.
Cockrum!
Isn't that
We
how
need Cockrum!
his claws were like in the series? The animated series?
Well, in the animated series,
They came from out of the back.
it came from
Yeah,
the back
because I
of
have
his
somewhere
gloves.
in my house I have it's an action figure, but it's probably about a little bit bigger than the size of like a Barbie doll.
Mhm.
And he had like removable rubber gloves, and they were like on his gloves, you know.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, that makes
So
sense.
theoretically, they still came out of his hand, but they came out at a point where he had those little metal things on the back of his gloves.
Yeah, and that made it
came
look
out
like
of-
they just came right out of there.
that they were coming out of his gloves.
Yeah. All right. Wein said on the X-Men Origins Wolverine Blu-ray special features that he has read 10 Things You Did Not Know About Wolverine, which says the character originally intended to be a mutated Wolverine cub and that has rekindled Wein's frustration. He again stated that he had always known that Wolverine was a mutant. In an article about the evolution of Wolverine included in a 1986 reprint of the Incredible Hulk number 180 to 181, titled Incredible Hulk and Wolverine, Cockrum said that he considered having the High Evolutionary play a vital role in making Wolverine a human. Writer Wein wanted Wolverine to be the age of a young adult with superhuman strength and agility similar to Spider-Man. This changed when Wein saw Cockrum's drawing of the unmasked Wolverine as a hairy 40-year-old. Wein originally intended the claws to be retractable and part of Wolverine's gloves, and both gloves and claws would be made of adamantium.
So Wolverine was born as James Howlett in northern Alberta, Canada during the late 1880s, purportedly to rich farm owners John and Elizabeth Howlett, though he is actually the illegitimate son of the Howlett's groundkeeper, Thomas Logan. After Thomas is thrown off the Howlett's property for an attempted rape perpetrated by his other son, named Simply Dog, he returns to the Howlett Manor and kills John Howlett. In retaliation, young James kills Thomas with bone claws that emerge from the back of his hands as his mutation manifests. He flees with his childhood companion Rose and grows into manhood on a mining colony in the Yukon, adopting the name Logan. When Logan accidentally kills Rose with his claws, he flees the colony and lives in the wilderness among wolves until he is captured and placed in a circus. Saul Creed, brother of Victor Creed, frees Logan, but after he betrays Logan and Clara Creed to Nathaniel Essex, Logan drowns Creed in Essex's potion. Logan returns to civilization, residing with the Blackfoot people. Following the death of his Blackfoot lover, Silver Fox, at the hands of Victor Creed, now known as Sabretooth, he is ushered into the Canadian military during World War I. Logan spends time in Madripoor before settling in Japan, where he marries Itsu and has a son, Dakin. Logan is unaware of his son for many years.
Dakin is cool as fuck.
Yeah, Dakin's a dope one.
Dakin's a dick.
Yeah, but
Wolverine is a mutant with a number of both natural and artificial improvements to his physiology. His primary mutant power is an accelerated healing process, typically referred to as his mutant healing factor, that regenerates damaged or destroyed tissues of his body far beyond the capabilities of an ordinary human. In addition to the accelerated healing of physical traumas, Wolverine's healing factor also makes him extraordinarily resistant to diseases, drugs, and toxins. However, he can still suffer the immediate effects of such substances in massive quantities. He has been shown to become intoxicated after ingesting significant amounts of alcohol and has been incapacitated on several occasions with large amounts of powerful drugs, and Poison's shield once managed to keep Wolverine anesthetized by constantly pumping 80 millimeters of anesthetic a minute into his system. Good Lord.
His healing factor is facilitated by artificial improvements he was subjected to under Weapon X program. In later comics, it's called the Weapon Plus program, in which his skeleton was reinforced with virtually indestructible metal adamantium. His healing factor must also work constantly to prevent metal poisoning from killing him, as his healing powers are currently inactive. Beast has synthesized a drug to counteract the adamantium poisoning. His healing factor also dramatically affects his aging process, allowing him to live far beyond the normal lifespan of a human. Despite being born in the late 19th century, he has the appearance, conditioning, health, and vitality of a man in his physical prime. While seemingly ageless, it is unknown exactly how great his healing factor extends his life expectancy.
So he old as fuck, is what I'm trying to say.
He old as hell. It has been suggested that Wolverine can be killed by drowning. He has said that he is not particularly fond of being in water, due partially to the weight of his adamantium-laced skeleton, and that he can die if underwater long enough. His healing factor would only prolong the agony. The two-part story arc, Drowning Logan, finds Wolverine trapped underwater for an extensive period of time. The second part of the story arc hints that his experience weakens his healing factor and future health. Following Drowning Logan, Beast reveals that an intelligent virus originating from the microverse has shut off his healing factor, though not before it purged the body of the virus, leaving him as susceptible to injury, disease, and aging as any ordinary human.
Wolverine Volume 3, number 57, reveals that when Wolverine is injured so seriously that his body actually dies before his healing factor can repair the damage, he returns to life by fighting with Azrael, the Angel of Death, while trapped in purgatory because Wolverine defeated Azrael in real-world combat during World War I. However, after Wolverine's resurrection and brainwashing by the Hand, he made a new deal with Azrael that repaired the damage to his soul, negated their previous arrangement, and weakened his healing factor slightly. And the next time Wolverine sustains death-inducing injuries, he will remain dead. Due to a combination of his healing factor and high-level psionic shields implanted by Professor Xavier, Wolverine's mind is highly resistant to telepathic assault and probing. Wolverine's mind also possesses what he refers to as mental scar tissue, created by the traumatic events of his life. It acts as a type of natural defense even against the psychic. even against a psychic as powerful as Emma Frost.
Wolverine's mutation also consists of animal-like adaptations of his body, including pronounced and sharp fang-like canines and 3 retractable claws housed within each forearm. While originally depicted as bionic implants created by the Weapon X program, the claws are later revealed to be a natural part of his body. The claws are not made of keratin, as claws tend to be in the animal kingdom, but extremely dense bone. Wolverine's hands do not have openings for the claws to move through. They cut through his flesh every time he extrudes them, and occasionally references implying that he feels a brief moment of slight pain in his hands when he unsheathes them. Only a slight pain? Wouldn't it be like excruciating pain?
Well, I mean,
every time?
I imagine you get used to it.
Yeah.
Well, it's also something that helps him jolt enough that it pisses him off.
Adrenaline.
Yeah.
So it's one of the things every time it comes out that it's done it so much that it hurts, but it also just makes him angry whenever they come out.
That would make sense. During a talk to Jubilee, Wolverine reveals that there are channels inside his forearms through which the claws move when he extrudes them, and that he unsheaths the claws a few times a day to keep the channels open, similar to pierced ears.
Yeah, I always, pushed claws through my pierced ears. It's very common.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wolverine's senses of sight, smell, and hearing are all superhumanly acute. He can see with perfect clarity at greater distances than any ordinary human, even in total near darkness. His hearing is enhanced in a similar manner, allowing him to both hear sounds ordinary humans cannot and also hear to great distances. Wolverine is able to use his sense of smell to track targets by scent, even if the scent has been eroded somewhat over time by natural factors. This sense also allows him to identify shape-shifting mutants despite other forms they may take. He is also able to use his senses to smell and hearing through concentration as a type of natural lie detector, such as detecting a faint change in a person's heartbeat and scent due to perspiration when a lie is told.
During his time in Japan and other countries, Wolverine became proficient in many forms of martial arts, with experience in many different fighting styles. He is proficient with most weaponry, including firearms, though he is partial to bladed weapons. He has demonstrated sufficient skills to beat expert martial artist Shang-Chi and Captain America in single combat. He also has a wide knowledge of the body and pressure points. Like many of the X-Men, he is trained to pilot the group's SR-71 Blackbird supersonic plane. He is highly skilled in the field of espionage and covert operations as well.
So I have a minor question.
Mm-hmm.
So the X-Men and the Avengers, we'll say, just as a broad term, like for every other Marvel, So why isn't there much play in like the movies? Like, why are the X-Men like? It almost kind of seems like the X-Men movie and the Avenger movies are kind of two separate things.
Well, they are.
They are.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
It's because of rights. It's because Fox versus
That's right. Huh?
Yeah.
That's Fox
right.
versus Disney now.
I forgot that.
I mean, it did start as Disney, but when Disney took over, and now Fox still is clinging on to that last Dark Phoenix shirt of hope to make some money.
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
I mean, you guys are for what?
it's their last ditch effort.
That's all they got after trying to.
Well, I mean,
do
they had
Fantastic
Deadpool,
Four.
Yeah.
but eventually even he will need to move over.
Yeah, I mean, Deadpool had a niche though.
Oh,
It was
absolutely.
rated R, and that's what brought a lot of people in.
Yeah, so was Logan.
That's true. Yeah.
And that's part of the controversy right now over the Black Widow movie. Is because they're making
It's
a
supposed to
standalone
be
Black
rated R.
Widow movie. They talked about it, said, no, we're Disney, we're going to make it PG-13. But her origin story is not PG-13.
No.
At all.
Really?
I mean, you're talking like
Lots of sex and murder.
Russian brought up rape and abuse. Like, it's a
Okay.
dark origin story. So,
That's interesting. I mean, you would imagine fan pushback from stuff like that. Like,
So,
'cause
Brian,
you're almost kind of not telling the whole story.
Well, yeah,
I'd be pissed. I don't know. Like,
I
I'd
think
be
it's
pissed.
interesting because like the source material is there. I mean, all you got to do is pick it up and just do that.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and it's always that fight between like, well, we don't want to make it too heavy because then it won't sell. But then you've got Deadpool who completely proved that wasn't the case.
yeah.
But they're still clinging on to that idea for some reason.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
they're in between a rock and a hard place because you put Black Widow in all of these PG-13 movies, and now she's like a household name, with all the Avenger movies and
Yeah.
everything.
And I can see that. Like, it wouldn't make sense to all of a sudden change gears and be like, oh yeah, but now there's all this sex and death and blood and that.
Maybe there's
That
a
would
way that they
kind
can
of mess with
do
that,
it.
I guess.
Like,
Well, and
maybe alluding to the fact that she's been through all that shit.
well,
I don't
and her
know.
life gets better. Like
Yeah.
in the comics, that's why it's PG.
She's not like a
now.
superhuman or anything like that, right?
No.
She's just
No.
like a normal person.
So she's normal. She's sort of like intensely trained, sort of if you think of like Batman.
like that.
She's a normal human who just has extensive fight training and espionage training.
Okay.
Wolverine will sometimes lapse into a berserker rage while in close combat. In this stage, he lashes out with the intensity and aggression of an enraged animal and is even more resistant to psionic attack. Though he loathes it, he acknowledges that it has saved his life many times, it being notably useful when he faces the telepathic Mr. X, as X's ability to read his mind and predict his next move in a fight was useless, as not even Wolverine knows what he will do next in his berserk state. Despite his apparent ease at taking lives, he mournfully regrets and does not enjoy killing or giving in to his berserker rages. Logan adheres to a firm code of personal honor and morality. Good guy, Logan.
Good guy Logan.
He's alright.
As one of Marvel's flagship characters, Wolverine has seen many adaptations and reimaginings. For example, an issue of Exiles featured a planet of Wolverines in the Marvel mangaverse.
If you said manga, I was gonna smack you upside the fucking head.
I know, I was going to say it, and then I realized who I was sitting next to. In the Marvel mangaverse,
Thank you. I love you. Thank you.
Wolverine is even the founder of the X-Men. In Marvel Zombies, Wolverine appears zombified alongside Marvel's other major players. The Ultimate Marvel line of comics sought to ingrain Wolverine into his Ultimate X-Men title from the onset. The Old Man Logan storyline is set in an alternate timeline 50 years into the future where the world's superhuman heroes are dead. Wolverine has aged considerably and has become a pacifist.
See, that shit's brilliant. I love that. Like the film Logan, I thought was fantastic.
Oh man, yeah, I love that film. And this all is great generic information, but there's so much more in the nuance.
Yeah, we already read through the script.
Yeah.
Like that's it.
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah,
I kind of hoping on you.
Now we can just bullshit.
Well, that's great. Yeah,
Well, that's
I
the
get-
thing. That's what I wanted to do because Weird Sense has such an extensive knowledge of Wolverine and all of the comics, all of the movies, all of the games.
Like, and there's so many things you can go off on tangents about. I mean, you could talk about specific villains. You could talk about. I mean, when they talk about his life being hard and messed up, they don't touch on any of those details.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking when he was a kid, his healing factor isn't something that just automatically kicks in and he healed the minute his claws came out.
Yeah.
Right? Like his claws were there first. His healing factor is more of the mutant ability.
Okay.
So when his claws first started coming out and everything, he was actually a sick kid before all that. He was bedridden a lot.
Mhm.
Like he was considered extremely weak, skinny. We were kind of talking about Captain America before and the similarities between like the scrawny, weak person, but he was even worse. Like he was always bedridden. He was always sick. And his healing factor is something that just gradually started to come along. So when he got to the point where he was in like World War I, there's a character, Cyber, that ends up being like his drill sergeant and drill instructor for the war for his special unit.
Okay.
And he's in a special unit that has like Captain America and stuff in it.
Okay.
But this guy, Cyber, is basically this jacked dude with all adamantium laced arms. So his entire arms are adamantium. And he just beats the shit out of Logan as a drill instructor over and over again, and he keeps embarrassing him in front of people, and is just basically like
Breaking him.
this dude that like is one of the few people to really get in Logan's head and fuck with him.
Yeah.
And eventually he beats Wolverine so bad and rips out one of his eyes. And this is when his healing factor, while it's started and it's coming along and he can heal, is not fully to the point where it needs to be yet. And so his eye and his connective tissue and his nerves take longer to heal than everything else. So he actually has to put a patch over his eye, calls himself Patch for a while, flees America, and that's where the whole Japanese storyline starts.
No
and takes
shit.
place.
Okay.
And so he like goes to this bar in Madripoor and is basically working at that bar with a patch over his eye, and he's just calling himself Patch.
Yeah.
So people leave him alone in America. And that's from the dude Cyber. So you have that like abuse right there mixed in with Sabretooth, who we touched on a little bit. But Sabretooth, being one of his like all-time arch enemies, kills his will periodically kill his love interest on his birthday.
Good Lord.
And write happy birthday in their blood. And this happens sporadically.
Yeah.
And where they both live so long, it doesn't happen every year, but he never knows. So anytime Wolverine gets any ounce of happiness, sort of like let's talk about Silver Sable, and they portrayed it in one of the movies, but Wolverine or Sabretooth will just show up when Wolverine's like out doing something, murder his girlfriend, and just write happy birthday on the wall with their blood.
It's kind of a real shame that, you know, capitalism takes a hold of situations like, because what I'm getting at is like, you know, you can't make that into a movie that's gonna have kids come and watch.
Oh, absolutely,
it, you know what I mean? What I mean is it's kind of a shame because these high executives are making moves to make a movie, you know, fully accessible to every type of audience when it's way more compelling to reach towards a more
because they want as much sales as they can get,
and that's what sucks about it.
That's what we want is like everybody to embrace like these comic stories, but at the same time, there's so much more that's left to be desired that we're not getting to see because of that.
I think Logan and Deadpool are like shining examples on why,
and they're both
works
from
so
the exact
well.
Same Weapon X program.
Exactly.
I mean, they started out basically working together. Dennis was part of it.
Yeah.
You got
what's that awful movie that had Deadpool?
Oh, that was not Deadpool.
That was Origins.
No, I know it wasn't.
that was Wolverine Origins.
Yeah,
it is that
it was Deadpool, but
it was
wasn't
Deadpool,
the
and at the end,
Ryan Reynolds.
My God.
That was an abomination.
Where they like,
well, it wasn't him in terms of the powers and stuff. Like the fact that he's got his swords in his arms, they close his mouth up, which is taking away like the whole point of Deadpool.
Yeah.
All of it was just ridiculous.
And then give him laser Cyclops vision.
Yeah.
For no fucking reason.
Basically,
no
like what
fucking
happened
reason.
was Ryan Reynolds. He did that movie, and then he was like, "That was fucking stupid. Like, what? I want to do Deadpool the way it was meant to be," and he like just started it himself.
What I heard was the only reason he agreed to do that movie was that they agreed to let him make his own Deadpool movie.
Really?
Oh.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
That's what I heard. Because like, there's no way Ryan Reynolds reads that script and goes, "Yeah, I'm all right with this."
Right.
There's
exactly,
no fucking way
yeah.
unless there's some other reason. But yeah, that's what I heard. I don't remember where I heard that from, so that could be completely false.
I
But
kind of just want Ryan Reynolds in every single movie.
Well, and then
He should make his own
debate
Green Lantern.
was-
Exactly.
Yeah,
Fucking
exactly.
Garbage.
Well, he shouldn't have been Green Lantern. If you were going to put him in the DC universe, the smarter move would have been to make him Flash.
yeah,
Easy.
If you
I'm
would have done that,
ashamed to
because
say that I have
he's
that
witty.
steel book of Green Lantern only because it was at Walmart in the $5 section, and I thought, why not?
course.
No
Yeah.
shit.
Of course it was.
Haven't watched it, just bought it just to have as
Yeah.
collection
so
status.
one thing that I remember very vividly, at least just not the episode itself, but just the fact that this happened was the 90s X-Men cartoon where Wolverine, for whatever reason, goes back to visit Canada. I think he's looking for answers for something, and so he runs into his old Alpha Flight buddies.
Mhm.
And that was just such a cool episode.
Well, the origins of Wolverine, they talked about the fact that he was in Hulk, right?
Yeah.
That was his first appearance. He was in a Hulk comic, and he was hunting Wendigo,
Oh yeah.
who's from there. And so, like, he was supposed to be in Canada hunting Wendigo when he comes across Hulk. Now, Hulk and Wolverine right there is
Mhm.
enough to go off on a tangent if you want to talk about fights, because they fight all the time,
Mhm.
and nobody ever wins. It
Yeah.
always ends in a draw, or somebody else shows up that they have to stop fighting and join forces for a brief
Yeah.
second. But you have a fight that ensues at one point with Wolverine and Hulk, where the Incredible Hulk takes Wolverine, rips him in half,
Jesus.
takes his lower half of his body and throws it up on top of a mountain, and jumps on the mountain and leaves Wolverine. Like, when he comes to, he climbs up the mountain with half a body in his claws. By the time he gets up there,
Motherfucker, God damn.
Hulk is waiting for him with his legs in his mouth and says, right or left, which one do you want me to fucking eat? Like, that's the comic, which, again, you're right. They're not going to put that in a movie. And the only reason it stops is like a third-party thing happens where they have to stop and end up fighting. But he rips Wolverine in half.
There needs to be some kind of, God damn it, there needs to be some kind of way that we can recreate these scenes. Like, whether it be cinematically or in a TV show or something. Like, there'd be such a dedicated fan base.
There's some really good...
like fan movies,
fan-made fights. They're not like, they're not obviously on like the level of like Hollywood CGI, but they've done like really good at like, and not even just like Wolverine and.
Are you talking about the Bat and the Sun guys?
Yeah.
They've had they would take two random
Like this person versus this person.
What was the one they had where it was it the White Ranger versus Scorpion?
Yeah.
That one was awesome.
Jason David Frank reprised his role as the White Ranger.
Because at the end of the video, he like takes his helmet off and it's him, and I was like,
"Oh my god!"
For the record, I met him for Eddie and got a signature for Eddie.
Yeah, I have those Comic-Con bucks with Jason David Frank's face and his autograph.
Well, yeah, because I went to meet him and I was standing. This is like my crowning achievement, but I was standing in line waiting to meet him, and the next table over was Bruce Campbell, and he was signing away.
Yep.
And I was wearing the shirt that I bought that said it was like a print of like his outfit when he worked at as Smart, and it had like his name tag up here. It was covered in blood, and I happened to glance over, and he like had just finished signing like a Funko, and he just kind of like looks around and like we locked eyes. And he went like this. He went, and I was like, "Oh,
my life!"
And then I go up and I just went to meet Jason David Frank, and he signed like a pamphlet of his to like check out his website, and then handed it to me, and I was like, "Oh fuck, okay, I didn't even have to buy his damn signature." Hell yeah.
Do you guys remember that awful Incredible Hulk movie?
The very first one, probably.
Really bad one, because I was going
with
down,
Eric Bana.
I was going down a little bit of a rabbit hole because I watched American History X today, and then I was like, okay, and I was looking at like Edward Norton, and I totally forgot that he played
the Hulk.
That second,
which was okay. He did an okay job. I like, and he was all right.
I really liked.
Apparently, they said he was difficult to work with, but I thought he did a good job.
You know what? When you're dealing with greatness, you're gonna have some issues.
Yeah,
but the one before with Eric Bana is still a joke.
I have nightmares about that movie because it was so bad. It was so bad, dude. Like, that movie is irredeemable in so many different ways.
The origin story makes no sense with the dad thing and all of that. I was just like, what are we doing?
There was the only scene that I can remember from it is like a flashback of a knife. And like, obviously,
which movie is it? That one, or is it the Edward Norton one that has like the sad piano? Which Hulk is that?
I think isn't that the Norton?
Well, the sad piano is the TV show.
Is it the TV show?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the ending. The ending of every TV show is him hitchhiking.
Okay,
with the sad music.
That's what I was thinking.
That's from the TV show.
Okay.
So how does he come up in that first comic of the Incredible?
Yeah, so it's the Hulk, and it's just again because
that's pretty.
He shows up and he's hunting Wendigo, and so when they introduce him, it's just this random. It's the Hulk out doing his thing, and he just comes across Wolverine.
Okay.
And Wolverine's out there like, I don't know who the fuck you are, but you're big and scary. Here we go, and now we're fighting. And again, it was his first appearance, so they hadn't like solidified all of his backstory.
So what did he look like?
Yet. He's got the original outfit.
Yellow?
I don't know if it's.
No, I think it's the yellow and brown.
Yeah, it's the yellow and brown.
Oh yeah.
Because that was originally was brown, and that was more of the like Canadian color type thing. Before
Yeah, they did the blue once he joined X-Men.
He wasn't X-Men yet. Like they hadn't even.
Okay.
He hadn't even come across the X-Men, and they hadn't even thought about the X-Men in terms of him being in it yet.
So he just ripped him in half just because they were fighting?
Yeah, and that wasn't the first
fight.
fight. Brutal. That was a different fight.
Oh, okay.
Like, that fight, and again, Wolverine's one of the only people to be able to make Hulk bleed. Because Hulk also has thick skin and regenerative abilities and is almost indestructible. So getting him to bleed, Wolverine's one of the few people that just fuck him up.
Yeah.
But all it does is piss off Hulk,
Right.
and so it's just back and forth until it's done.
So one of my questions to you, being a huge Wolverine fan, is how do you feel? Do you feel like Wolverine has been properly featured and treated well in video games?
Yes. There was a Wolverine video game about, I want to say 10 to 12 years ago that came out from the movie,
Okay.
from the Origins movie. It is an amazing game, and it is brutal.
Yeah.
Really?
It is
Yeah.
a rated R Wolverine origin game.
Okay.
And, I mean, he's cutting off people's limbs.
They took that part
He's-
when he flies through the helicopter, and they just like
they ran
amped
with it.
up.
Yeah,
Like-
they amp it up, and
Yeah.
it's really good. I don't know if anybody remembers the original like Sega Genesis X-Men
Oh
game.
yeah,
Mhm.
They got
But
that
he
for
was like
Christmas
the
one
best
year.
character in that.
Was it a beat 'em up? Was it like a
It was a side scroller.
Yeah,
like an arcade game? Okay.
I mean, Wolverine's who I always play on the
Marvel versus Capcom.
no.
The arcade game.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely on the arcade game. Also on Ultimate Alliance. Like he is always one of my primary characters.
Do you have a Switch?
My work has one that we got for the office.
You need to get one.
You know
Because
there-
that new Marvel Alliance game is exclusive to Switch.
Is Ultimate
right?
Alliance going to be only for it?
Yeah.
Only
We'll
for
buy it
Switch.
for our office. Then. We'll
Yeah.
get that for sure.
Only
Yeah.
for Switch.
It's-
I still find that crazy.
Yeah. Right? How do they fucking do that?
That's a power move.
How did they
that
get
is
that?
a
That is
fucking
power.
crazy.
I bought the remake for it on PS4 right now.
Yeah, I
for
do.
the old
Yeah.
one. Yeah. But yeah, that's so. I think they've done a pretty good job with him in video games. There's definitely a lot of other characters that they haven't. So, and I think Hulk is one of them.
Man, there was a badass Hulk game. I mean, it was badass to me, but it might not have been to everyone else. But I can't remember. I think it was the one that was based off of the horrible movie.
Oh,
But that movie was really. That
the game
really
was
good.
actually better. Than,
Yeah, I can't remember. Like you
I
can
think I think I know which one you're talking about.
you
'cause
can
it-
like pack cars on your hands. Like you could rip cars in half and then pack them onto your hands.
That
and
was
then
one of the only like decent ones. I
Oh my
remember.
god, it was so cool. dude.
traversal in that game was amazing.
Oh yeah, you're like jump. Oh yeah, dude. Of course. Shit
Climb up
was,
buildings
shit was
and just
awesome,
fucking
dude.
jump off
It
of
was
them. Yeah,
awesome.
shit was dope.
But with Wolverine, there's a bunch of like nuances and stuff that they left out of that. I mean, you have the whole who he's dated, right? Like his love life is pretty epic
Yeah.
throughout all the storylines. Like he fucks a lot.
I mean, doesn't he even
Right.
hook up with Lady Deathstroke at some point?
Smashes the
Yeah,
pussy.
him and Lady Deathstroke have a brief thing, but
Smash,
she's always
smash.
mostly trying to kill him.
I just imagine him like getting a girlfriend, and then she goes, "Hey, your birthday's coming up," and
He's
he's,
like,
like,
"Oh, fuck."
I know, right?
And he
He's like,
gets
we gotta
in the
break up.
bedroom and he's
Yeah.
like,
Well, then, other than Jean Grey, who is like
You want to suck my cock, berserker?
Jean Grey is like one of the few, other than Silver Fox, but she's one of the few people that he like loves, and that's who he's focused on.
Mhm.
But because again that people die all the time, luckily Jean Grey always comes back, which I think is part of the reason he likes her. But
she can't die.
yeah, she keeps dying, and
and
she always
that kind of
resurrects.
explains the Wolverine and Cyclops feud.
Oh yeah, and Cyclops. Let's be honest, Cyclops is a bitch.
He is a fucking.
right? If you're out there and you like Cyclops, there's something fucking wrong with you.
He is a bitch. He's always been a bitch. He's always gonna be a
and
bitch.
he's an asshole. Like, he
Unsubscribe.
cheats on Jean Grey with. Granted, she dies, but she's always
act
coming
like
back.
a bitch. You gonna die like a
But
bitch.
he cheats on her all the time. He's just such a fuck, dude.
He's such
I
a
hate
cocky
him.
prick. Too. Just-
He's a cuck.
he is.
It reminds me.
He's a sad cunt. I do not like Cyclops, but I mean he hooks up with Wolverine hooks up with like Squirrel Girl Ethan.
Yeah.
Those reminded me of a bitch version of Captain America.
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, but like not cool.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
but not cool.
And then
Yeah, Squirrel Girl. I remember him in Squirrel Girl.
he hooks up with Squirrel. Him and Squirrel Girl have a thing going on. And then if you guys, the Civil War comic is one of my favorite representations of
Yeah,
Wolverine.
absolutely.
And he has a thing with one of the Atlanteans, one of Namor's
Mhm.
Yeah.
side chicks or whatever. He hooks up with her, but it's so superficial. He hooks up with somebody that's superficial, not because he's a shallow guy, but because he has such a bad experience with people he's dating getting murdered all the time.
Right.
Yeah, why would
I love Wolverine on X-Force.
On X-Force?
Yeah. So fucking brutal.
Well, and
That's the black costume Wolverine.
Yeah.
there's all. I mean, the fact is that he has, to me, the outlook during the whole Civil War storyline that makes the most sense.
Mhm.
Right? I mean, you have Iron Man and Captain America having this whole battle over who's right and whether or not they should come out or not, and there's this whole big moral story.
Right.
So what is it about them coming out
So
as superheroes?
yeah, so the origin. So Civil War is different in the cinematic universe than it is in
Sorry,
comics.
I keep hitting your knee. I don't want you to think I'm like coming onto you or anything.
Well,
You're
I mean,
very attractive. Man.
You're only human. I'm used to that. That's fine.
exactly.
All right, Cyclops.
No.
Hey,
Look, we don't.
That's
we
a
don't
fucking
need to take
insult
it
to
to a
him,
dark
man.
turn here.
You're right.
Like,
I'm sorry. That was a little over the line. I apologize.
Over the line. Market zero.
I'm fighting for my life here, guys.
It's fucking embarrassing.
They make me R. Kelly up in this.
Oh.
So I'm not peeing on anybody. I'm just kidding.
Fucking I'm gonna move out of the way if you try to.
Boondocks. Why wouldn't you move out of the way? If I see piss coming, I move out of the way. So in the Civil War, this is sort of the basis of Civil War in the comics.
Okay.
It starts off with like an offshoot of Avengers, like a younger group that's like, we're going to start our own group and we're going to be really cool and popular. Hey, there's this low-profile bad guy named Nitro that's in our town. Let's go arrest him.
Okay.
So they go to
As
take
you
him.
do.
What they don't realize is Nitro is like a high-level mutant. Like his mutant ability is to cause like huge nuke-type explosions if he wants to.
Okay.
So they show up
Electro.
to arrest him, and he's like right in this neighborhood or whatever, and they're like, "We're gonna kick your ass. We're gonna arrest you."
He's like, yeah, but fuck.
And
you.
this guy just ends up being like, "No," and goes nuke and destroys a small town. And you see like people playing baseball and kids playing baseball in this blast coming, and he just murders everybody.
Fucking Judgment Day style.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Just, like,
It's
looking for
it's
defense.
Judgment Day style. And so that sparks this whole debate about, holy shit, these mutants are going unchecked, or people with abilities are
they
going
need to be held
unchecked.
accountable.
They started their own group to save somebody because they were irresponsible, ran into somebody that got this whole town nuked. So Iron Man's like, no, this isn't cool. We need to come out. We need to start registering this. To which Captain America's like, I was around for the Nazis. You're not registering anybody. And that starts the whole divide and the splitting of sides.
So there's a history aspect.
So there's a history aspect of it. And the interesting thing is the X-Men decide to stay completely neutral because they're like, look, we're mutants. We're not just people with abilities. We're people that were basically...
Born this way.
Can you imagine
Well-
having a brain as fucking big as this guy? Jesus Christ.
Well, they're stuck basically
Like, you just
from
got so
the-
much knowledge. I'm impressed.
Yeah, well,
Fucking rad.
thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
I always need a good ego boost. I don't have
No,
a good
you-
ego
I'm
at
not
all.
trying to push
No, you
your ego.
don't.
I just think
No,
it's
you
fucking rad. I'm so passionate about it.
Well, so because
Yeah,
the X-Men
you
are
do
from
that.
basically the concepts of the Civil Rights era, like, right? That's when they were born.
Yeah.
They want to stay neutral. Like, we've already been in the limelight. We've been dealing with civil rights stuff. We have all this like inherent racism against us back and forth. We
Yeah,
don't
it's
want to
very
get in the middle of this fight, so they vow to stay out of it. Wolverine is the only person that has his own offshoot from the whole Civil War that basically says, I don't care about your fucking sides. This guy nuked a small town. I'm just going to go kill that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
He's the problem.
And so his whole storyline is him just, I'm going to find Nitro and murder him. That's all I want to do. I don't care about your sides. I don't care about any of this. And as we read earlier, we were talking about the fact when he dies, he fights Laser. And like, so when he gets to the point of absolute, he should feasibly die, he shows up in this world and has to fight Laser, who's the angel of death at this point. And every time he kicks his ass, he gets to come back, and he always wins.
Really?
And that's why he always comes back from death.
Okay.
So he sneaks up on Nitro, tracks him down, jumps at him, and is about to murder him. And Nitro sees him the last split second and does his whole nuke thing.
Mhm.
And you see every cell except for one small cell in the inside of his titanium or his adamantium skull basically get vaporized. He falls over like he's dead, and then he fights Laser, kicks his ass again, and then he comes back.
That
and
whole
keeps tracking him down.
fight with him when he dies that one time, dude, is just so crazy because later he's just sitting there and he's just like, "You've come back to me. Like you and I, we're connected. You're gonna come back to me, and one of these days I'm going to fucking kill you, and you're going to die, and you're going to be mine."
Which feasibly happens in the death of Wolverine.
Yeah.
But yeah, that whole storyline right there is amazing to me because I mean he gets kidnapped by Iron Man, and he gets the thing around his neck that makes his hero powers go away, so he can't heal. But what he says and he comments on is that his claws are not part of his mutant abilities; they are something else completely. So he's able to break out and still shoot his claws out and break out of the machine because he's like, "This isn't a mutant power.
Okay.
My healing is." And then he finally tracks down Nitro, murders him, finds out who put him up to it because there is a bigger plot at foot. Tracks down that guy, throws him out of a window onto a street in I think it's New York or something where all these people are, and just takes two of his claws, takes the guy out in the middle of the street, and shoves them through his eyes. And that's one of the last frames is him in the middle of the road with all these onlookers just shoving his claws through this dude's eyes. And that's where his storyline ends in
the Civil War. Yeah.
He's like,
because everybody gets their own little storyline. The Fantastic Four got their storyline. X-Men.
You have Spider-Man's whole Tony Stark thing that they tie into the movies. But dude, badass story.
So do you think that there's a future, obviously the cinematic universe with Avengers is very popular, big, crazy big, right? Do you think that there's a future where every single one of these characters are going to be on the screen? Like X-Men?
Yeah, I think it's going to take time. Yeah. But the fact that Avengers, they've started their whole phase 4
what is your
Captain
hope?
Marvel.
Yeah, what is your hope?
I'd like to see...
what stories do you want to see with... Because do you think Wolverine's, dead?
I want
personally,
to see, a full-on... X-Force, because we kind of got to see it in Deadpool 2. He tried to assemble them, and they all just fucking died.
Yeah, I feel like that would be a really fucked up tease if they did that and then don't eventually give us an X-Force movie.
And then the other thing I was going to say, shit, this is almost dead, is that I don't know if it was kind of an Easter egg or if it was unintentional, but in Deadpool 2, when they're fighting Cable and the explosion happens at the end and camera pans over to Deadpool and he's covered in ash, but it makes his suit look great,
like the X-Force.
And I was like, okay,
I mean that's fucking.
That was the.
That is so intense.
But yeah, I want to see.
Do you think all this shit's gonna be like Disney? Like Disney's gonna take a hold of it? And
the two I see actually happening with where they're going with it. I mean, we saw the Skrulls just introduced,
which I'm so stoked about.
Yeah,
I can't wait.
Secret Invasion.
So
no way, you're getting your Secret Invasion.
I'm positive.
Yeah,
I'm positive.
God damn it, we wished it. We willed it to life. You fucking heard it here first.
If they're doing that though, they have to introduce Fantastic Four. Into that universe, because Super Skrull is basically a Skrull that gets the powers of all of the Fantastic Four.
And isn't Marvel getting Fantastic Four back?
Yeah, I think they are. And so I think where they're setting things up, that storyline makes sense. The other storyline that makes sense is if they introduce the X-Men under Disney, then they're going to be able to kill Captain Marvel with Rogue and introduce Rogue and how Rogue basically absorbs Captain Marvel. And doesn't get the lasery things or the energy shots, but she gets super strength and flight.
Please don't let it still be, what's her name?
Anna Paquin.
Yeah. Well, I don't think at this point, I think the only actor that might possibly reprise his role is Hugh Jackman, even though he said he's done. Because he did say if everything was under one roof, he would return. And he also said that there's a possibility that he'd do something with Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, I mean, I will just be happy as long as we get a decent Storm.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, but fuck you, Halle Berry. I'm sorry.
She's a great actress, unless it comes to doing superheroes.
Not in superheroes.
Yeah, as far as comics, Catwoman, no.
Fuck, hot garbage,
trash,
hot garbage.
I had a side question for you. What is the cameo for Kevin Smith in Captain America? Captain Marvel.
Don't you dare say anything.
I want to fucking know what it is because he posted a picture on Instagram of him bawling his eyes out because he saw it.
It's pretty rad.
Is it cool?
I don't.
like that.
I saw it. I don't remember him being in it.
No, they just reference.
He's not in it.
Oh, they reference it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's real subtle. Like it's
it
real
was
subtle.
it was a very, very sweet thing. A really nice callback. It was really cool.
And like everyone's like, "Oh my God, Kevin Smith is now Marvel canon." I'm like, "Oh, that's fucking."
because he
rad."
references Marvel comics and DC.
He's like literally one of the biggest nerds on the planet.
Yeah.
Like he needed to be in.
Apparently,
there.
his Superman script was shit, but
Yeah.
that never saw the light of day except for the internet.
Yeah.
He did direct some dope Daredevil episodes though.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
That's true.
I don't know. I kind of see a super bright future for the X-Men if it's
They
within
just
Disney's hands. I mean, I look at everything else that they've done besides Star Wars.
got to get it out of Fox.
So
Fox's hands.
So how about this? Let me ask you this, like everybody. Any Marvel character that exists, like that hasn't already been in the movies, who do you want to see most? In like whether it's featured or just a part of an ensemble thing, or just some Marvel character that's not been in anything that you want to see show up somewhere. Because I'll tell you mine.
Yeah,
I want Archangel so bad.
Archangel would be dope.
Besides that brief garbage glimpse that we got of him in
Yeah.
that one X-Men movie.
Well, he was in Apocalypse.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I'm talking like, I want
I would,
Archangel and X-Men going against
I would
each
like
other.
to see, there's two that I would actually like to see. Moon Knight or Taskmaster.
Yeah.
I want like Taskmaster and Captain America to go at it.
Yeah, Taskmaster
Oh, yeah,
would be
dude.
dope.
That would be
I think
dope.
Gambit still needs a
Gambit
proper
too, yeah.
He-
intro.
Yeah,
he
Gambit
definitely
needs a
needs-
proper.
We were this close too.
Yeah.
We were so close.
Having a Channing Tatum.
I don't know
Gambit.
how I feel about that.
Well, Channing Tatum's a Southerner, so I mean, he's from that area. Like he's
I
from
think he could do
Mississippi.
it.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
could've pulled it off.
And that, I don't know if it was a fan made picture of him or was it like production or what?
I don't know.
But I was like, let's
You
do
know, I don't know if Sony, because again, you got Fox, you also have Sony who has Venom. I don't know if we're going to ever see any more symbiotes or if they are going to get into the sequel.
What were your thoughts on Venom?
I thought it was good. I thought it would have been better under the right hands. I see, Tom Hardy, I think, did a good job, and I'm glad
he
he's
did
in
a
the universe.
fantastic
Fucking
job.
Yeah, he did
There was
great
also
job.
rumor, speaking of Wolverine, that Hugh Jackman had said when they asked him, who do you see playing
He
the
said
next
Tom
Wolverine?
Hardy.
He said, honestly, I could see Tom Hardy doing a great job. Which Tom Hardy was like, oh, Jesus, that's amazing. But now that he's already in it in a way,
Yeah.
but then again, they do that all the time.
Yeah, like
Chris Evans
Chris Evans was the Human Torch.
Human Torch, and Ryan Reynolds was all the
Who
dumb.
is your dream pick for Wolverine now that we can't have Mr. Hugh Jackman?
Well, I've heard there's a couple debates on this. I've heard, and the biggest one I like is that why would you put another Wolverine in when you have X-23 who takes up the mantle,
Mhm.
and just keep her going as Wolverine now? Because Wolverine, if he's dead and it's not Hugh Jackman, then he's
Who
dead.
is also badass.
I gotta watch that
X
fucking movie
Force.
again. That movie is really, really good.
Or even
yeah.
Dakin, like even introduce a Dakin.
Yeah, but he's an asshole though. He's
But
he's
I
kind
mean,
of a
you could have-
villain for most of it,
I'm sure they could put X-23 and Dakin against each other.
which happens all the time.
Exactly.
I mean, X-23 ends up being the favorite from Wolverine,
Mhm.
and I mean, Dakin is always one that's like, I want to be Wolverine, and I'm the new Wolverine. I don't understand this little dew claw.
I
thing
think
he's
it would
got
be.
going on.
I think it'd be fitting to bring X-23 in from that, like directly from that Logan story arc, and then if Hugh Jackman decides to come back, like separately in X-Force,
Then,
then-
yeah.
yeah.
I have a hard time seeing other actors do it.
I do too.
And when he said Tom Hardy, I was like, yeah, but now he's Venom.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now he's got a permanent place.
But
I
is
mean,
Venom ever going to be absorbed into the?
They're already
I mean, you
making a
have
sequel.
Spider-Man in.
I feel like
The
they
actual
have.
universe
They
now.
actually have. There is no way that they can't introduce Venom into the Spider-Verse, like in the movies. Like there's no
getting
way
to
they
Mysterio.
can't just stop right there, because like Spider-Man and Venom, like they fight each other. They sometimes team up to fight Carnage,
Yeah.
like which we're obviously getting
Yeah.
because of the end of Venom.
And it's already said that Infinity War didn't have Wolverine because he is in the original Infinity War. Thanos turns his bones into rubber, turns all his adamantium into rubber for a period of time.
You gotta imagine though that was all tied up in licensing.
Oh yeah, you couldn't have done
Absolutely,
it.
absolutely.
There's no way you could have done it, but it would. He does have a role in the comics. One of my favorite like standalone side comics of Wolverine is there's one where it starts with this dude who's waking up, starting his new day at a job. He goes in this military compound, and his job is basically getting into this large machine gun and aiming it in a pit. And his job is just holding a machine gun down for hours on end until the next shift gets there. And this goes on, and eventually he takes a break, and he's like
shooting it or just holding
just
it there?
shooting
Okay.
it into this pit. And that's all he's doing. And he's like, well, it's really good pay. It's my new job. I don't really know what else. And like it breaks or something where they have to get it fixed real quick. And he hears this voice talk to him. And it's like, what's up, bub? And like, you smell like you've had a new divorce, and I can smell this on you. And he starts this conversation. So this guy periodically will start talking to this person in this pit, and it's Wolverine. And they basically kidnapped Wolverine. And in order to pacify him, they have a machine gun on him going constantly.
Yeah.
But that like gives you an idea of how shitty this dude's life is and how much he gets fucked up.
Yeah.
And he's just used to it at one point.
So what is your favorite story with Wolverine in it? Like hands down, without a doubt, your favorite piece of literature or whatever, what story with him?
I really like that Civil War story where he just does his own offshoot thing.
Yeah.
I mean, his origin story is amazing.
Yeah, Origin is my favorite one.
Yeah.
Origin is definitely my favorite.
I like Old Man Logan.
Old Man Logan's a good one too.
There's a storyline where I mean, I think we kind of have to touch on his whole relationship with Magneto.
Yeah.
I mean, Magneto at one point basically pissed off at Charles Xavier. They're having a fight, and then he's just like, "Oh yeah, this is your boy," and just rips the adamantium off of his skeleton.
Yeah.
And it's so painful. It makes Wolverine go back into the Berserker, and that's where we're back to Bone Claws again. I mean, it's Magneto that does it. So he hates Magneto.
Yeah.
Because Magneto is one of the few people that's like, you're not doing anything. Get out of here.
My
There's
power
a
was made for you.
storyline where Magneto has his own island, which you guys may be familiar with.
No, not at all. But
Okay.
I'll
Yeah,
continue.
he ends up like being the like ruler of his own island of just mutants. It's called Genosha.
Okay.
And there's one where they have to infiltrate and get in and get to Magneto into this island, and it's a storyline that has North Star and a bunch of people in it. It's really cool, and they get in there, and eventually wacky antics ensue, and they knock off Magneto's helmet with Cyclops blasts, and like basically they have this whole plan where it happens. So they knock off his helmet. Professor X is able to like, your helmet's off. I'm going to stop you.
Yeah.
And so he's using all of his energy to stop Magneto and to hold Magneto in place. And Wolverine just walks up to him and stabs him right through the back and basically murders Magneto. And while Professor's just like, no, what are you doing? He's like, dude, really? It's been forever. Fuck this guy. And walks away. And that's one of my favorite X-Men comics, too. The story where he's just like, we're not dealing with this anymore. This asshole. And he just murks him.
Huh.
And I think the only way he comes back to life is it ends up being Colossus that helps nurse Magneto back to health from that.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's
Fucking
one
Boy
of my
Scout,
favorite stories,
right?
too. I like that story.
Okay.
The Boy Scout of the X-Men.
Yeah, dude. Biggest brutish motherfucker, and he's just one that's just like the most caring for everything.
Yeah.
The Colossus?
Colossus,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Colossus
he feels bad
Scout.
for him, and he's like, I'm metal. I
Yeah.
don't know. So he like is taking care of him and like helping him like come back to life.
Yeah, Wolverine is definitely crazy. I mean, and then like even with the whole Weapon X thing,
Yeah.
the whole weapon where he gets his adamantium,
Mm-hmm.
it's like those storylines are iconic. Like you really can't. There's nothing like them. They're very unique.
Yeah.
Well, and he's a baseline then for so many other characters and the shitty upbringings they have. And that's what distinguishes Marvel from DC. Is DC, it's always like very straightforward Boy Scout. You have Superman the Jesus figure. You
Oh,
have
look, I got powers!
Well, and not only do you have powers, but they're always like these ridiculous powers to the extent of being indestructible. You can fly, shoot lasers. They're like ducks, right? You can fly, swim, and walk. Fuck you, Bird. I'm gonna do all of it. But I mean,
Bird. I've
fuck
never
you,
thought
Bird,
of it like
right?
that.
You can do all three.
They are selfish pricks.
They're selfish.
Mm.
But DC or Marvel is not like that. And with Wolverine, you adopt this very deeply disturbed, troubled anti-hero who has these powers, but with it comes constant pain. With it comes the fact that his significant others are always getting murdered. He's always getting tied down in pits with machine guns going constantly on him just to keep him pacified. Stuff like that. And so that's more real to me. That's more of a, this is...
We like his conflict.
Yeah, is more conflict, and that's, I mean, you take a Buddhist approach to it, which he gets really into, and you have all the Japanese storylines, but it's very Taoist. It's this balance.
Yeah. So does that Sabretooth guy ever get what's coming to him?
Yeah, so kind of. So there's a sub character that's sort of in the background of all of Wolverine's life called Romulus.
Mhm.
You have this Romulus and Remus, that's his sister, and he's mostly this. There's like rumor that there's this whole group of people that evolved from wolves instead of apes, and that's where Wolverine's lineage comes from, and Sabretooth, and all these and Wild
it's
Child,
a Roman origin story,
and all this, and it's supposed to be Roman, right?
Yeah.
Well, eventually, like Romulus intervenes, and Wolverine bests him at one point, and it comes out that like he's made that up. That they weren't really evolved from this, but there is like certain healing factors. But one of the things that ends up happening is Sabretooth fights Wolverine, and Wolverine eventually murders him and kills Sabretooth. But it turns out that it's a clone, and it's not actually Sabretooth. It's one of Romulus's clones.
Yeah.
So he does get what's coming to him, and they do fight a lot. He's portrayed in the movies as like, I'm kind of your brother, and we just have this rivalry. The comics is much more like, we fucking hate each other.
Yeah, like, fuck you forever. I want to kill you.
Now, the death of Wolverine's storyline, you see him, Sabretooth gets caught by Viper in Japan, in Madripoor, and she has him on a chain. And so Wolverine ends up like having all these people show up to murder him. He kicks their ass and is like, why are you after me? He's like, there's a contract out on you. You have all these people after you. The contract came from Madripoor, from Viper. So he goes to Madripoor, confronts Viper, and Sabretooth comes out on a chain and is like, tells him like, yeah, I got captured, and she did her poisonous Viper thing, so he's under her control. And so he makes them fight. Wolverine ends up besting him, and Lady Deathstrike shows up and is about to fuck up Sabretooth too and kill him, and is actually helping Wolverine out. Wolverine spares him and is like, no, I hate him, but we're not going to kill him chained up under somebody else's control. When I do it, it's going to be the right way. And he sets him free. But that's in the death of Wolverine, where his healing factor is already degrading. He doesn't know why. He's got the adamantium poisoning. And I think it eventually he dies being like pumped full of adamantium, being covered in liquid adamantium.
Okay.
And I think that's how he officially dies in the comic series.
Are you a fan of the Marvel vs. Capcom series?
Oh, yeah,
of fighting games?
To a point.
Okay.
After like Marvel vs. Capcom 2,
there's a point where they.
Three is my favorite one.
So what did you think of the controversy of no X-Men in the latest installment?
Oh yeah, I think it killed it.
There's a lot of different reasons on why Infinite did not work at all.
Like, how can you have Marvel versus anything if you're going to like remove the stable of
the
Marvel?
main storyline of Infinite was wasn't it? It was it Ultron or was it Thanos that they were going up against? I played through the story and
it's Thanos.
Yeah, they basically like go after Thanos and like they get him, and then he like tells them that he'll help him and to help him do something, and then it just fucks him over. But yeah, it mostly focuses on like the Avengers and Thanos, but at the same time, it's like you could have at least had the characters in there. Like
Wolverine
they didn't have to be in the story.
Is one of the best Marvel characters in the game.
Well,
Yeah,
he's like top. He's top tier.
Yeah, I mean, and you're gonna remove him.
Yeah.
Okay.
That collector's edition for Infinite was almost $300, and I was about to do it because it comes with this super fucking sweet Mega Man X figure. I was like,
wasn't it the one that came with the stones?
Yeah, but they're not really stones.
Yeah,
it's just like a cutout. Anyways, that's $300 when it came out. It's $50 right now.
Really?
Wow.
Just because of how awful that game did. So the full roster for Infinite was Captain America, Captain Marvel, Doctor Strange, Dormammu,
Yeah.
Gamora, Ghost Rider, Hawkeye, Hulk, Iron Man, Nova, Rocket Raccoon, Spider-Man, Thanos, Thor, and Ultron.
And what do you want to bet? It's because they were tied to Disney.
I'm sure it had maybe something to do with it.
I mean, those are all Disney-owned characters.
Yeah, they are.
So, do you remember this is totally random, but do you remember in the original Nicolas Cage Ghost Rider movie, that was the first time that you saw like the what's her name? She plays Fat Amy.
Rebel
Wilson, yeah.
Okay.
That was the first time I ever saw her when she does because she's the one who's being interviewed after like the first time he like Ghost Riders up and whatever, and she's all, yeah, and his head was on fire, like, whoosh.
Oh, that was her?
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
I
her.
didn't know that.
It's so fucking funny. But yeah.
She couldn't even save that movie.
Ava Mendes could.
I mean, that's the only part.
movie.
That's
Right?
the only
Saying
part she was
something,
in, though. I bet if Rebel Wilson was in more of it, that
I
might
would
have been a
I
different
would like to
story.
see
Yeah,
like
yeah.
a proper Ghost Rider.
Yeah,
I think that would be my pick, is to see a proper Ghost Rider. That and to see a rebooted Howard the Duck.
I think that.
Well, they
would be
hinted
cool.
at it.
Yeah,
He's been in plenty of Marvel after.
and he's got a
things.
new cartoon,
Yeah, and he's got the new
Really?
cartoon
Yeah.
that he's coming out.
which was
But you're
was that,
talking
was that
like-
the one written by
like-
Kevin Smith?
Like, kind of
Um,
not like CGI.
There's,
but
there
like,
Yeah,
are
like
animatronic.
3 or 4 new
Yeah.
cartoons coming out. There's a Modok cartoon. There's Howard the Duck. There's I don't remember what the other ones
I
are.
can't.
But I
Isn't
think
the MODOK one like a kind of like a sitcom we discovered?
kind of, yeah. Like basically, so it's pretty much where
that
Modok is trying to, like, he's running this gang organization. He's trying to take over shit, but he has like all of these completely ineffectual underlings that just keep fucking things up, and so it's just like him trying to like keep hold of this tenuous grasp he has on his empire, and just like how bumbling everyone around him is. And so it's kind of like a Skeletor type situation, you know?
Interesting.
Like,
Reminds me,
so
kind of
fucking
reminds
funny.
me of the Monarch and all his henchmen from
Yeah.
the Blues Brothers.
Yeah.
Brilliant show.
But-
Brilliant.
but-
Is that
I
the one that
think-
sounds like Ray Romano?
If I remember right, I think the Howard the Duck series is being written by Kevin Smith.
Okay.
Kevin Smith and someone else. But I can't remember.
Good hands.
Pat Nuzzle.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
But yeah, like, I'm trying to think of other characters I'd like to see. I think Blade would be cool to reintroduce again.
Yeah.
Because he was Marvel.
Yeah,
Like, that's one of the
I've
original
seen
Marvel
articles
movies.
about them
Shit.
talking about
Yeah.
doing that again.
Blade is in the Marvel universe.
Yeah, Blade would be a dope one. I would really like to see another Blade movie.
Yeah.
Who else?
Who would you want to see play Blade, though?
Idris Elba.
Yeah, I can see that.
I would love to see an Idris Elba Blade.
Also, like the guy who plays the villain in the Luke Cage first series.
Oh, okay.
He's
Yeah.
also in Moonlight and
Mhm.
stuff. I think I can't remember his
He's a
name,
good-
but he's an
So,
amazing actor.
The guy that played Cottonmouth.
This
Yeah.
is an article. Oh, it doesn't say.
I just saw him in
Oh
it.
wait, this is clear back from
Watching him in True
last
Detective.
year, but it says that Marvel has 2 Blade projects in the works with Wesley Snipes.
Nice.
Still with Snipes?
Well,
Yeah.
Snipes is like a vampire
Old
for
man,
real.
Old
Like,
man Blade.
Old man Blade.
Okay.
This is an article from August of 2018, though, but I couldn't find anything more recent than that. But
And there have been like videos of Wesley Snipes talking about, yeah, no, we're gonna do another one. But we don't.
man.
It would
Yeah,
be,
man, we gonna do another one.
in terms of Wolverine, it would be nice to see him and Spider-Man together again because they did that shit's all over the comics.
Yeah. mhm.
Yeah.
That's because he's teams up with them and he pisses them off.
Right.
I would like to see the
No, we're
the Wolverine and Deadpool dynamic
Yeah.
in movies.
Well, and so does Ryan Reynolds. I mean,
Yeah.
God, he's constantly harassing Hugh Jackman about
Oh,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Huh?
That's
Well, and just the little bit of screen time they did have in Wolverine Origins before they went like way off into fucking
We don't
left
talk
field,
about that.
like was great. Like,
Yeah.
which is one of the best things in Deadpool in the end credits is you
Oh,
see
yeah.
their interaction where he comes back and he shoots the old Deadpool
That
He's talking
so
to him, they're
great.
interacting and stuff. I was like,
Yeah.
all right, that's cool.
Ryan Reynolds is reading the script for Green Lantern, and he just shoots him in the back of the head.
Shoots him in the back of the head.
Apparently, whoever made that movie was it? And obviously, it was Marvel, but was it Warner Brothers that did Green Lantern?
Yeah, I think it was
They
Warner Brothers.
were not so happy about that. From
Are you
what I heard,
serious?
yeah,
Oh, really?
yeah,
Yeah, but who's gonna fucking
yeah. What are they going to
Sense
do?
of humor,
who's
Warner
gonna,
Brothers.
who's gonna fucking go up against Disney? Like Disney be like, hey Disney, we didn't like that. You know, Disney's just gonna be like, eat a dick. I don't care. I'm Disney.
Deadpool
They're
wasn't
like
Disney.
wiping their tears.
Disney's
They're-
brushing
Oh,
off
yeah, Deadpool
backlashes
wasn't
left
Disney.
and right. Dude.
That's right.
I think Deadpool was Sony.
Deadpool was Sony. Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't so.
I mean, either
That's
way.
I thought Deadpool was Fox.
Now, see, and that's rest in peace, Stan Lee. But he kind of like hoard out his kids. Like because they had Sony that has some people. You have Fox that had some people,
I thought Sony only owned Spider-Man.
and
I thought-
Deadpool. Like
But
there was a
I
couple
thought Fox
characters.
was the one that owned Deadpool.
I think they were fractured
Fox
out.
has the X-Men.
So Fox
and,
has, yeah.
Fantastic Four.
So far, they might not be keeping Fantastic Four.
Yeah,
Well,
no, their merger happened not too long ago.
And so some things have been pulled to Disney, and now Fox, now being owned by Disney, all of it's kind of convoluted. But originally, years ago, yeah, it was fractured out into every company got a couple characters, and that's what fucked everything up.
And that's how we got Hasselhoff as Nick Fury.
Are you serious?
Yeah,
That really happened?
yeah, in the
Oh, yeah.
90s, bro.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he
Hasselhoff.
was the big shit, you know?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you have Hasselhoff as Nick Fury if you could get him?
God, David Hasselhoff has fucked up so many things, including like the musical Jekyll and Hyde. I love, and he was like the original though, so it's so terrible compared to like actually good productions of it.
You guys
Stop with
remember
David
that
Hasselhoff and
that
things.
video, that viral video that came out of David Hasselhoff, where he's like shit canned off his ass, like trying to eat a cheeseburger on the floor. Do you remember that video?
Yeah.
Oh my god!
He couldn't extend his arm.
Yeah.
He had it like sitting, and he was just like, just trying to eat it. He was just. drunk.
He's sitting on a floor,
Yeah.
not in a kitchen. He's like on a floor, like crawling around. Oh, it was the best.
It was ridiculous.
Jeez.
Goddamn David Hasselhoff.
Well, that concludes our take on Wolverine. Thank you to Weird Sense for coming along. I knew we picked the right guy for the job.
Thank you guys for having me.
As always, you can follow us on social media.
On Facebook at the Nerd Corporation, a podcast.
On Twitter and Instagram at Nerdcorp Podcast.
Or you can shoot us an email at nerdcorppodcast@gmail.com.
And if you want to see Weird Sense's claws, subscribe to our Patreon, patreon.com/nerdcorp podcast.
But wait, they won't go to the Patreon.
These are the fake ones. I got real ones
Oh, okay.
too.
All right.
Several tiers of loot to have access to, from stickers and shirts to bonus content and add-ons. So for the Nerd Corporation, my name is Eddie Lyon.
I'm Cole Simper.
Derek Reese.
I'm Nick Lewis.
On Weird Sense.
Peace out, y'all.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Love you. Bye.
Bye.